Welcome back to Explaining Everything, the channel where we dive into the stories and mysteries behind everyday things. Today's question comes from one of our awesome viewers, Marty McFly, 85. Thanks for the suggestion, Marty. You asked, what do AM and PM really mean? AM and PM. Two little letters that somehow control our entire existence. They tell us when to wake up, when to eat, and when it's socially unacceptable to order pancakes. But what do they actually mean? And why does 12 a.m. sound like it's just lying to us? If you've ever stared at a clock and thought, wait, is 12 p.m. noon or midnight? You're not alone. Time is weird. But don't worry, we're breaking down the whole AM and PM situation, from its ancient roots to why it still confuses us today. So grab your coffee, tea, or that questionable energy drink from the gas station, and let's figure out why our clocks are playing mind games. Right here on Explaining Everything. First things first, AM and PM stand for ante meridiem and post meridiem. That's Latin for before midday and after midday. Simple enough, right? Except it isn't, because the whole concept of AM and PM is a product of humans trying to make sense of time in the most complicated way possible. Back in the day, ancient civilizations used sundials to tell time. They looked at the shadow cast by the sun to figure out what hour it was. The Egyptians were one of the first to divide the day into 24 parts. But here's the kicker. They split it into 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime. Makes sense when you think about it. The only problem? They didn't have clocks, just vibes and the sun. Fast forward to the Romans. They loved taking ideas and putting their own spin on them. So when they adopted the 12-hour day system, they made it fancy by slapping some Latin on it. That's how we got ante meridiem and post meridiem. But here's where things start to go off the rails. You'd think the switch from AM to PM would be smooth. Noon hits, boom, we're in PM territory. Midnight rolls around, we're back to AM. Easy. Except we decided to call 12 a.m. midnight and 12 p.m. noon. You might be wondering, why not just call midnight 0 a.m.? Wouldn't that make more sense? Yes. Yes, it would. But humans don't do sense. We do tradition. And for some reason, the tradition stuck. 12 a.m. is the start of a new day, but 12 p.m. is smack in the middle of it. It's like someone designed timekeeping during a fever dream. If this wasn't confusing enough, different cultures over time had their own takes on the whole day and night thing. In some places, the day started at sunrise, not midnight. Others based time on when people started work. Imagine waking up and saying, "Good morning, it's 0 o'clock," like a character in a dystopian sci-fi movie. Of course, modern technology tried to save us from ourselves. Enter the 24-hour clock. It's sleek, logical, and used by most countries outside of the US. Instead of wrapping around at 12, it just keeps going. 1300, that's 1 p.m. 2300, almost bedtime. No fuss, no existential time crises. But for reasons unknown, the US and a few other English-speaking countries decided to stick with a 12-hour system. Maybe we just like the drama. The suspense of wondering whether that 12:30 reservation is for lunch or an awkward midnight snack. And if you think that's bad, let's talk about time zones. Thanks to Earth spinning like a carefree ballerina, time changes depending on where you are. So, while you're sipping coffee at 9 a.m. in New York, someone in Tokyo is already enjoying tomorrow's breakfast. Time travel is real, and it's just called living in different time zones. Time zones were introduced to fix the chaos of local times. Before the 19th century, every town had its own version of time based on the sun's position. That meant if you traveled by train, your watch would become useless the moment you crossed into another city. Imagine trying to schedule a Zoom call back then. So, we standardized time. Sort of. There are still exceptions. Ever heard of UTC? That's Coordinated Universal Time, which basically serves as the timekeeping referee of the world. Countries then set their local time relative to UTC. And then there's the International Date Line, where time literally jumps forward or backward by an entire day. Time isn't real. It's just a social construct we all agreed to stress about. Now, some people have proposed getting rid of AM and PM entirely. Just go full 24-hour mode. It would solve a lot of confusion, especially for night owls and people who work shifts. But change is hard, and the thought of asking a barista for a 7 o'clock coffee without specifying AM or PM, pure chaos. So for now, we're stuck with AM and PM. Next time you're staring at a clock, wondering whether it's noon or midnight, just remember, even the people who invented this system were probably confused. And if it ever gets too frustrating, just remember that somewhere out there it's already tomorrow, or yesterday, or lunchtime. And hey, if you're ever running late, just confidently declare that you're operating on Daniel's Standard Time and watch people nod in confusion. Who's going to argue with a custom time zone? It's all relative, right? If you enjoy this video, or if you're now ready to share some interesting facts about AM and PM, please like and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time here in the channel that answers all the why, what, who, where, and how questions you've always wondered about, here on Explaining Everything.